bad, dude. Oh, I'm on a rant right now. It's this Vikings team is just tough, bro. It's tough to fucking watch. It's just I'm not a Kevin O'Connell believer. I'm not a Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah believer. Until this is a pivotal offseason coming up, and I don't have a lot of faith. I just don't. Like the fact that, I mean, granted, JJ's under contract next year, like, and then he's a candidate for franchise tag. So whatever happens, happens. But if you don't get that done within the first like month of season, the new season's opening,
scary hours.
Yeah, Kwesi is. I mean, I think if Kwesi lets JJ get away, he should be fired on the spot and not allowed back in the building.
He should be out the door right after him. There's no way you let the potential best player in your franchise walk out the door after 4 or 5 years. There's no way.
No, you can't let it happen. And that's the scary part is I don't have faith that he can get it done. And it's hard being a fan right now because I mean it's like, and then it's like how I was feeling the last 2 years of Zimmer is how I'm already feeling about KOC. Quit. I hate coaches who can say the right thing at all times in front of the media, bro. But when you get in the spotlight on game day and it comes down to your coaching and game management, your play calling, this man is atrocious. He is so bad in game, it's not even fucking funny.
Play calling is bad against Green Bay.
But it's been there. It's been like that constantly. There's been spurts here and there where it's like, okay, that was good. But majority of the time, crucial situations, crunch time, it's so conservative and bland. I think anyone who watches a Vikings game who's not a fan of us, I think you can pretty much predict each player, each series, what Kevin O'Connell is going to do and call.
You could. I mean, I could. There was definitely a game where I called out each play, and you guys ran it 1, 2, 3, punt, game over. And it's been like that for a couple of years. But O'Connell, he is becoming more and more predictable. And then when the weapons go down, it becomes more predictable. So that offense that he put out against the Packers was just abysmal.
Well, and here's the thing. It's the fact that O'Connell hasn't adapted yet since Kirk's been – he's running the same offense as if Kirk's out there.
Right. When
you can't do that.
Now. Yeah.
You can't do that. And the fact that when Jaren Hall was in there against Green Bay, bro, he's running a slow, methodical, fucking 8-step drop back offense. And this dude is athletic and mobile, needs to be outside the pocket. This dude, he doesn't have the mental or the vision yet to read these defenses as a rookie. Why are you running a Kirk Cousins offense with this guy in there?
A guy in his mid-30s who's been through all tons of adversity. He knows the playbook in and out. It doesn't make any sense. Different play style doesn't make any sense. So all 3 quarterbacks you had in there play completely different from Kirk.
What can you fucking say? I mean, I don't know. Like, I just have no words. This is, like I said, it's been a brutal season to watch. You know, you think about it, we're what is it? Are we 7-8 now, or 7-9?
Yep, something like that. 7-9, I think.
So you're gonna have a losing record. I mean, unless a miracle happens against Detroit when they sit everyone and we just win, like, because they have nothing to play for. They already got locked up. They already are in business. So, like, I guess you could say that's a scenario that happens is they just rest all their healthy starters that need to be healthy for the playoff time, which I would think if Dan Campbell's smart enough, you probably do that, bro. Like, what is a game against the Vikings? You already won the North. You're, a top 3 seed, whatever it is. But so either way, even if the Vikings win, they're 8-9 on the season. You're hovering around that the constant mediocrity with the Vikings, bro. It's just that it's like I said before I think they said it before the season. a bad year for the Vikings is usually a fucking round 500.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we have a good winning record. But majority of the time, when we're bad, it's a mediocre. It's just a complete mediocre record, round 500. You know, we've had a couple instances where we've been, you know, a 3, 4, 5 win team, but majority of the time it's around 500, and it's just, but it looks it's a season filled with ups and downs. It's a season filled with just head scratching moments all around. It's you know, it's the Vikings way. That's all I can say. It is. It's the Vikings way, bro. Like, and it's hard to watch. And then these seasons are even tougher because then you get your divisional rivals who just talk shit, you know, and you can't say nothing. You can't say nothing because it's just
Tough.
you got no rebuttal. Like, but in the depth, in the deep down inside of me, I just want to go off and just like what does Detroit have to talk shit for? Right? Like, you know what I mean? That's where I'm at with this. You've been bad so long, and what's the record against the Vikings all time? Not even close to being 500 against us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have their number, but you got us this year. Kudos to you. You deserve it. Enjoy it. But you're still not a Super Bowl team this year. But I mean, like I said, on their end of things, like they actually have a head coach who's aggressive, who is laying it all out on the line every single game. Like he's building a culture over there that people want to be a part of. You know, we're 2 years into KOC now, and there's a lot. I guarantee there's a lot of people in that locker room who are like, man, what do we like? We like coming to work, sure, but the results just ain't there.
That's a good point.
Even last year during that 13-4 year, that was not a 13-4 team. I'm sure it's hard for the players to like buy into it that they weren't. But as fans all around the world who watch football, you knew the Vikings team was not as good as their record was.
Yeah. You know, the big thing was the one-score games last year. They started off this season losing a couple one-score games, so you should have known from then. Well,
yeah, we've had about 7 to 9 one-score games, but we've just been on the losing side this year, you know? But that's the other, and that's where I'm at with Kevin O'Connell. 2 seasons in a row, bro. You have what, around 20 or so games of being one score? That just goes and proves how conservative you are. You play not to lose.
Mm-hmm.
This dude coaches not to lose. He is not aggressive. He has no aggressive bone in his body. If we have a lead, bro, you can run, pass. Defense, defense, defense.
You can count on it. It's a shame because you have one of the most talented rosters. I do think throughout your history, especially recently, the past decade or so, you've always been missing a piece or two. I don't know what the piece is right now. I think the defense is good as a whole, but to your point about players wanted to come play for the Lions and maybe not wanted to come play for the Vikings, you have JJ and Hunter who are on the fence about coming back. You don't hear talks about them being all in with this Vikings team and KLC going forward, so that's pretty scary. So I don't know what you guys do from here.
I don't know either. I mean, I think the temporary thing and the temporary Band-Aid going into next season is you re-sign Kirk. I mean, if you draft a quarterback, you draft a quarterback if one falls to you. But I think you got to go in
Band-Aid right there.
You got to go probably. I mean, you cannot go into next season with these 3 quarterbacks on your roster.
So what, you're going to be probably 8-9 or something like that. That puts you 16 to 20.
No man's land.
What are we thinking here? Jaden McDaniels? Are we thinking Michael Penix? Are we thinking JJ McCarthy? I mean,
I said it earlier in the season. Where I would probably like to see what Michael Penix can offer in our offense. But like I said, I don't know. I don't even want to. I'm so like, I got such a headache from this season that I don't even want to. I just want the Super Bowl to be done with, take a whole ass break until draft time, and just fucking refresh, catch my breath, catch my fucking mental, and just start over. Like, because if I have to sit here tomorrow and start thinking about this draft process, I'm going to have the biggest migraine in the fucking world, because I could not tell you what the draft results are going to be. I'm trying to predict that shit is just a headache in itself.
It is.
And whoever falls to us. But I know if one thing's for certain, Kwesi better hit on this motherfucker because he's running out of fucking time drafting.
There is a quarterback in your division that I like. I forgot he was actually on this team until you mentioned it about a month and a half ago, but that is Hendon Hooker. If he is QB1 going into 2024, would you take number 16 as QB1 in Minnesota?
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
I mean, it's better than what the three quarterbacks we're working with right now. So in that sense, yes. If you're not, yeah, I would. Especially if you're not going to sign Kirk Cousins or re-sign him, But I just think with what we're seeing the Vikings do right now in this, we went a long period of time without JJ with his hamstring. We've gone a long period of time without Kirk, who is playing arguably the best year of his career. How he comes back from that Achilles remains to be seen. But I think Kirk's the type of dude, and that's my prediction. Is I just think he's probably at the point in his career. He doesn't need the biggest contract in the world. He realizes that he wants to settle his family here and ride off into the sunset when it's time, and he wants to finish out here. If he gives a team-friendly deal, bring Kirk back 100%. There's no thinking this.
I'd love to have you.
You do it. Because
doing business,
and like I said, and then in that case, if you get it done and you're able to get it done, with the, well before like combine time and draft process time and all that shit. Now we can start to plan like, hey, do we have can we maneuver a little bit in this draft to go up or down and debating how it falls, and grab a quarterback who can learn under Kirk like that. We're solid with that. When he retires, we're good to go with this guy. If that's the win-win scenario in my mind. So whether that's Penix, whether that's McCarthy, Daniels, I think this is a decent draft for quarterbacks. I honestly do. It's nerve-wracking, obviously, when it comes down to a college quarterback because you don't know how they're going to pan out. But I think compared to the past 2 years since we've been doing this is probably the best QB draft that we're seeing this year.
I will say, did Drake May start at North Carolina? Because I know Caleb transferred, Penix transferred, McDaniels transferred, Bo Nix transferred. All these guys are older, which I do like because I hate throwing a young 21.
I don't want Bo Nix. I don't want Bo Nix. That's one guy I do not want.
There's no way he's going to go top 15, but I just don't know. He's going to go top 15, bro. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You saw him play in the division, which you can say is the closest to the NFL, which is the SEC. And he was no better than, I don't know who you want to call, an average quarterback in the NFL right now. So to see him go to a division that doesn't play any defense, or a conference that doesn't play defense, and now he shoots up the draft boards is scary. And somebody's going to make that mistake, bro.
Yeah.
But I do like that he's played for different coaches in different systems, all that stuff. I say the same about all these guys. So I do kind of agree that this quarterback class, who was the number one quarterback coming in? Because we had Aiden Hutchinson and Trey Walker. And then last draft it was Bryce and CJ. So
the first year we did this, we were talking about fucking Pickett and those guys, and it was a bad class.
Terrible. So I will say, depth-wise, this class is better than last year. Because after Bryce and CJ, I really wasn't sold on anybody else. I know you liked AR, and Will Levis was in there as well. But, yeah, still, things need to be seen. Because I don't even believe in Caleb Williams. I don't really have a lot of faith in Drake May. But some of those other guys I do like a lot. But
yeah.
Are we good here on the Vikings? We probably got 15 minutes off cam, too. So
yeah, there's going to be plenty more episodes that come up in the off season where we're going to be talking about the Vikings, and it will be long segments of me, going off and giving my take. So, we can move on here and kind of focus in on the last week of the season and then the playoffs coming up, because God forbid, I don't want to talk about the Vikings in the playoffs in the same sentence.
Well, Vikings do have like a 1.4% chance to making the cut. So
in reality, that means 0.
Like your boy KG said, anything is possible. We can talk about the rest of the NFC here quick, though. I'll run through a couple topics, and you tell me which way you want to go. We did have San Francisco lock up the 1 seed. They're probably going to sit their players against the Rams this week. Philly, they gave up the 2 seed, and we'll look at their schedule a little bit and see how that happened. Really can't mention Philly without mentioning Dallas. The Cowboys are now in that 2 seed with some help from America's refs. Detroit, we talked about them earlier. They won their first division title since I was teething. So, I mean, like you said, they don't really have a lot to talk about, but everybody has their moment. NFC South is obviously wide open. 3 teams have a chance. It's really kind of a 2-team race now, though, between New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Which direction do you want to start here? You want to start from the top or go from the bottom up? Or do you want to start in the middle?
We might
Doesn't
as
matter.
well. I mean, let's see. We might as well start from the top and just work our way down because we kind of know pretty much what the order. I mean, obviously, there's certain shit that can happen this weekend that can decide some things, but for the most part, we know, you know, what the top teams in the AFC, NFC are going to be. So, I mean, might as well just work our way down and get to, who's playing for the most this weekend.
Okay, so I'll just kind of combine Baltimore in this one. They also locked up the 1 seed. San Francisco, like I mentioned, is going to rest a lot of their guys, presumably. I know Baltimore mentioned they're going to rest Lamar. Are you a fan of the rest, or do you believe in the rust?
I think when it comes down to pro football players and how long this season is and the toll it takes on your body, I'm a fan of the rest because I think we've played enough football this year that you're not losing muscle memory, you're not losing anything, and you're not losing anything by sitting out a week. This is a bye week for the starters. It's you need to be as healthy as possible for this playoff run because fuck a week 18 when you got the 1 or 2 seed. You need to be ready for playoffs and that gauntlet you're going to go through. So I'm a fan of the rest, and I think it leads to these top teams being at their most fresh with everyone and a little bit more explosive come that first playoff game.
I never believed in the rust either. I agree with you 100%. You could have a running back sprain his ankle, high ankle sprain, come back in 3 weeks, miss 2 full weeks of practice, come back Wednesday, do Thursday walkthrough, and you throw him out there as RB1. Lamar, these guys aren't hurt for the most part. We're just getting healthier. It's not like Lamar has a shoulder injury he has to nurse or anything like that. I mean, this is exactly what it seemed like this needs at this point in the season. It's a week or 2 of rest before you get back to it against a hard quality opponent. I never believed in that rust nonsense, but some people do, and I think it tricks people sometimes. Some teams do, and they come out flat, and it's scary. And I hope Baltimore doesn't do that.
Right. And see, but like when you're a team like Buffalo this weekend, you have to play everyone.
Yep.
Because you can either make the playoffs as a 2 seed or you can fully be out. So you have to play everyone.
You have to play
everybody. This is a playoff game for Buffalo.
It is.
So when you get
always scary when you have a team doing that, playing as well as they have, ending the season, going into
because and that's the thing too, is because if you don't have a 1 or 2 seed locked up, and you're in a situation like Buffalo, you're needing to play all your guys, and then guess what? You could have some freak shit happen where you got 1 or 2 guys that go down and can't play in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, say they win this game week 18 and they get the 2 seeds. Just say they get the 2 seed because of that. But now, guess what? There might be some guys that are going to be able to play that first game, but they're going to be banged up, and you got to watch out for that. So that puts you at a disadvantage with, I mean, you're not going to be playing a 1 seed the first week, obviously. So you're kind of lucky that way. But I'm just saying, like, think about, especially with these 1 seeds like Baltimore, this is essentially 2 bye weeks in a row for them. So you're getting healthy as can be, and by the time that 3rd week rolls around, where your first playoff game comes, it's like a brand new season for you. You guys are feeling good.
I agree. Moving back to the NFC, how do we feel about San Fran?
I think it's the same thing with Baltimore. I mean, they're not going to lose anything by sitting anyone, and the only thing with San Fran is you watch that game with Baltimore, putting that shellacking on them at home. It's San Fran, for them to beat a team like Baltimore or to run get to the Super Bowl, they have to be on top of their A game every single week in the playoffs. There's no room for error for the San Francisco 49ers because, while they have weeks where they look absolutely dominant and, they can do anything and everything, they get in games with other top quality opponents like Baltimore, and it's a little bit of a struggle fest. And if they're not, and they weren't on their A game that game either. So if they're not on their A game, they're a very beatable team. But when they're on their A game, it's going to be a slugfest.
They started the season looking like probably the most dominant. I think we both could agree. I mean, I still have my hopes in Philly and Kansas City, but San Francisco looked like they were due for big things. They ended up losing those 3 games in a row. One came to Cleveland, one came to you. I forget who the third loss came against, but they looked pretty dominant since then. Outside that Baltimore game, they bounced back last week against Washington. I mean, it was close to halftime. I think it was 13-10, but they did pull away in the second half. I don't really worry about San Francisco. I think there's really only one contender in the NFC that could really give them problems, and they handle them every time. So if they're healthy, I think they should run through the NFC pretty handily, and hopefully we can see them at the big dance. I like the mic color you had. It was black and purple just a second ago.
Yeah, I mean, with San Fran, I think San Fran should, if they're on their A game, they should be able to go through the NFC. But I don't want to get my hopes up with that because, goddamn, I don't want to see anyone else in the Super Bowl in the NFC besides them because I don't believe in any other team in the NFC.
I agree.
And so, obviously, it remains to be seen what happens, but that's just how I feel. And I think I'm more scared for Baltimore in the AFC playoffs because anything can happen on that side.
Not only that, I think the 5, 6, 7 in the AFC are tougher than the 2, 3, 4. We're gonna have Cleveland and Buffalo in there. I'm not worried about Jacksonville. I mean, Indy did beat us. Cleveland has beat us. I mean, if we lose to Joe Flacco, bro, you'll never see me again. I promise you that. I promise you that. I'm not on no kind of watch list. I'm just saying the pod's gonna be over. So you don't have to get all crazy. But we can move to the number 2 seed, Dallas. They had a little bit of luck against Detroit. Initially, I was fine going for 2. After the penalty, we all know what happened. I thought Dan Campbell was a little aggressive, but luckily Dallas did commit a defensive penalty and got Detroit back on the 2 or 3 yard line. But at that point, do you still feel like Detroit should have gone for it, or do you feel like they should have kicked the field goal on our Monday night football game?
Well, the way I was feeling about it is, I felt like they should have taken it to overtime because I think Detroit would have won outright. They just felt like the better team that night. They felt like they were having their way with Dallas a little bit. And I felt comfortable with them going to overtime and taking it from Dallas on their turf. So but that's where I have problems with Dan Campbell is I love the aggressive nature he has because you want your team to win badly and you just want it to be, over. You just want you want to hand them the loss and say good night. But there's been just one too many times this year in certain situations where he's gone for it on 4th down one too many times. He's gone for 2-point conversions one too many times, and they're starting to kind of nip him in the ass a little bit. And I just think, like I said, I think you can run your course with aggressiveness, especially in the pros. You can't get away with it every time. You got to pick and choose the right times to do it. But I just think he does it way too much. It's going to cost them, especially if they say they get to the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl. He's gonna do that boneheaded shit in a spot you don't want to do it.
Yep, I agree.
And so, if he doesn't fix this before the playoffs and kind of take a step back and realize like he's hurting his own team by doing what he's doing with the calls he's making, they're in a world of hurt because I think if like Detroit now, while I'm talking about being on top of their A game in San Fran, Detroit, if they're on top of their A game and their defense is coming to play, well then they're one of the tougher teams to beat in the NFC, and they're a scary team because the way they go out and play, they don't fear anyone. They've been through hell and back with that organization and their history. They don't fear anyone. They're this moment. this moment they're gonna relish in it, and they're going to take the fight to you in the playoffs. And if you are not ready, you're gonna get socked in the nose, and your shit's gonna get broke and bloody and spewing everywhere. And they're not. And that's the thing with Dan Campbell. He will not take his foot off the gas. That's what I love about Dan Campbell. And I think he's making a name for himself in the NFL with his coaching and the way he goes about things, because I think this new day and age that we're in too is in these type of players that, are coming up. This is the type of guy guys want to play for, because while he's a little, he's not overly hard on his guys, but he's tough. He's tough on you. But this dude, his aggressive nature, just people love that when he's showing he's got that much confidence in his players to go out there and win the game, or execute on fourth down. Who doesn't like that type of pressure on you in tough situations and to capitalize? So the confidence he gives his players, I just think it goes both ways. And I mean, it's scary to think about, because I think another offseason or two in Detroit could be a real problem in the NFL.
Yeah, another few pieces on defense, a more consistent offense, they could be a real problem. Like you said, they're not scared of anybody. If they bring their A game, they can put up 30 on anybody in the league. If the defense is coming to play, who knows? Probably won't hold anybody, but they can make a few stops here and there. 30-28 victory. I mean, that's what playoff football is sometimes. So they are definitely a team to look out for, but San Francisco's at the end of that road. It's just a scary road.
Right. But the thing about that Detroit San Fran matchup, if that happens, that'd be probably fireworks, because both teams can score quick, but Detroit can really score quick. And the only problem is their defense, and I don't think San Fran would have much trouble moving the ball on them. So it would be a high scoring affair, in my opinion. I mean, unless they hit a brick wall against San Fran's defense, which could happen. Because Jared Goff is still that guy that I don't trust. But I mean, look, I think not even just Detroit fans, but I think the football fan in general is excited to see a new team like Detroit in the playoffs and to make some noise, because for the majority of the time we see the same recycled teams in the playoffs each and every year. There's just, and that's just, I think that just starts with teams' ownership and front office. There's a lot of bad ownership in front offices in the NFL that just cannot put teams together and give these guys resources to win. And so we see a lot of the, majority of the time it's, Houston's and for a while, obviously it was Detroit, but I mean, the Jacksonvilles and the Tennessees, and while they might make a playoff here and there, majority of the time you don't have to count on them being in the playoffs.
Yeah, Raiders, Chargers, shit like that.
Yeah,
teams that can be quality, but more times than not, we're not scared of them. Teams that fit right into that category. This NFC South division, we have Tampa Bay right now at the 4 seed. Saints are battling that out with the Falcons in Week 18, trying to take that 4 seed from Tampa, but the Bucks definitely got the lucky draw, getting Carolina in Week 18. How do we feel this division is going to fare out?
I've kind of, obviously to me it's either Tampa or New Orleans, but I don't know. I feel more comfortable with Tampa being in the playoffs, just because I feel like they have a little bit more to offer than the other two, from a competitive standpoint. But I don't believe in them, and I don't trust them at all. I just think whatever team gets in that spot is going to have a rough first game. It's going to be ugly.
It's going to be Philly unless something crazy happens, but that's not a team you want to play. And we can talk about Philly right now. You were probably the first person on this that I heard, but Philly is not the same team that they were last year. They obviously started the season a little shaky. That close win against New England, a close win against you guys in Week 2, a close win against the Commanders, overtime win, and then a loss to the Jets. We kind of thought they were winning games, but it wasn't pretty. It wasn't dominant, but they had like one loss at the time or something, so we're figuring they were okay. And then they go on a 3-game stretch where they beat the Chiefs, Dallas, and Buffalo. The Buffalo game wasn't overtime, so we're kind of figuring at that point, okay, they probably surpassed their hardest schedule or their hardest part of the schedule. They're going to be okay going out for the rest of the year. Well, so far they are 4 losses out of their last 5 games since then. Obviously losing against Arizona last week, choking that game away. How do we feel about Philly at this point in the season?
Not good. I mean, they're hitting a wall at the wrong time. Um, they don't. They I just think there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of internal issues with that team right now. Between those walls out in Philly, I just think that I think there's a little bit, blame game going around from players to coaches, or what have you, or players to players. I'm not. I think I'm starting to question Nick Sirianni a lot. Um, Obviously, you make that defensive coordinator change after that guy, after you just hired that guy in the offseason to be your new DC, which is not a good sign. Um, and then the offensive coordinator, I don't know the guy's name, but you know, you're not getting the same shit from him this year as you got from, who was it, Shane Steichen last year, now with the Colts.
Mhm.
And obviously Jonathan Gannon, who was the DC last year. I mean, I just think they had something humming last year. And obviously when you're that good and you make a Super Bowl, coaching staffs are going to get, plucked.
Yep.
There's a lot of teams who are looking to hire people, and they go to those winning teams and they just pluck coaches from that staff. And, it ends up being either don't miss a beat, or you take a big hit. And I think Philly's taking a big hit. Something's not clicking, and it doesn't look good. And I just think with you getting blown out by San Fran and Dallas and losing to Arizona, I think that bodes for you being a team come playoff time that no one is gonna be scared of. And I think that when it comes down to it, if it is Tampa Bay or New Orleans, them knowing that, I think that Tampa Bay and New Orleans can give Philly a run for their money, because they know that they're the underdogs. They have nothing to fear. They're just going to throw everything they have out. That's going to be their Super Bowl. And so, to me, that scares me for Philly.
Yeah, and it's not like Philly is losing to quality opponents down the stretch. We just mentioned the loss to the Cardinals. I mean, they can be got by anybody, and especially if you're in the playoffs, these are high quality opponents in Arizona. So I really don't have too much faith in Philly. I would have liked to think Jalen Hurts, with his leadership, will be able to turn this around, but it doesn't seem like that. Like you said, inside these walls, there seems to be a lot of turmoil. AJ Brown seems to be frustrated. He has seemed frustrated since the beginning of the season, honestly. I mean, it doesn't help that Devontae Smith is out here dropping passes, and the defense is one of the worst units in the league. But this Eagles team has a lot of talent over there, and they're just not putting it together, and they are falling apart at the seams down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have words for it, because if you ask me, like, while I would still take the record over our Vikings record, by I just this type of season that, like, the Phillies going through, is probably even worse than being a 500 team, because you start out great, then you're starting to lose, you get blown out and lose to Arizona, like, before playoffs. It's like you lose so much faith in your squad, like you just don't believe in them anymore. And it's like, you know, especially after a Super Bowl year, like it's head scratching. It's frustrating. I don't know if I could go through that compared to what I'm going through now, because when you have that good of a record, and it still says you're having a great season, but the last 4 out of 5 weeks says otherwise. And it's one of those things where it's like, man, you kind of
It's
you
like
you
you're on a
kind you
roller
would kind
coaster.
you would kind of expect, like, okay, we're gonna go in, we're gonna win this first game against Tampa or New Orleans, sure, but after that, I'm scared. I don't know what we're gonna do.
So we don't have to run through all these wild card teams in depth, but out of the Rams, Green Bay, Seattle, potentially New Orleans, who do you think poses the biggest threat to any of the teams that they potentially play? Or who do you think is the best team
Uh,
overall? I ask you that.
the Rams, I do. I think they got a. I think that while their defense is kind of iffy, that offensive side, that Kyron Williams is hitting his stride in the running game. You still got Stafford. You still got Cooper Kupp. You got Puka Nacua now. I mean, they got weapons that can scare a lot of defenses. And Stafford, he's a gunslinger. So he's going to go out there and make shit happen. And I think that's going to be fireworks if they end up playing Detroit.
That would be lovely. I mean, that's the quarterback who I'd like to see play against his old team. I do not want to see Cleveland in the playoffs.
Speaking of the Rams, bro, we get to have Carson Wentz start this week.
That's right, my guy. I'm the only guy that still believes in Carson Wentz. We'll see after this week against the backups in San Fran how I feel about him. We mentioned Baltimore earlier, the 1 seed in the AFC. The AFC South will be a battle. I guess we can start there since you just got done talking about the NFC South. Indianapolis plays Houston this week. How you feeling about this one? Kind of to our Week 18 picks here, but
this is going to be an intriguing matchup. I think it could go either way, obviously. But I mean, personally, I'll be pulling for Houston because I've been kind of on their bandwagon a little bit this year.
Colts are at home,
and I think I believe in Houston more than I do Indy if it comes down to playoffs because I like what D'Amico and that defense is doing. I like what CJ Stroud's able to do. Even without a couple of his weapons, he still puts up good games. And I just do not trust Gardner Minshew if it comes down to playoffs. That's just not a guy I'd trust. So
yeah.
And I just think Houston would be a lot more fun to watch in the playoffs than Indy.
I think Houston's down a few weapons, like you said, but still, their offense will be more fun to watch than Indianapolis. Their defense is young; they fly around a little more. So, both teams are likely to get into the playoffs. I think one will be a 4 seed, one will be a wild card, most likely. So we'll probably see both these teams in there. And like I said earlier, we did lose to the Colts, so obviously not a team that we want to see again. But if we do, we should handle business. I won't give you my pick yet because we'll do that when we get to picks. But I think that will be a good game Saturday night. Probably one of the better games of the week because teams like Baltimore or San Francisco are not going to be playing their starters. So this is one of the few games that will mean something. We have to also mention Jacksonville, who is also in this division. They are losers of 4 out of their last 5, similar to the Philadelphia Eagles. They might get one of those wild card spots as well. How do we feel about Jacksonville?
I just don't trust them. I mean, they had a great run at the early part of the season. I think they got to what was it, 6-2 or something like that to start the year.
They were in control of their own destiny. If they handle business, they could have been the 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know. Their team. I can't really read this team at all because there's weeks they look good, there's weeks they look terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, regardless if they make the playoffs or not, you're not going anywhere. So
AFC is tough. You mentioned it earlier. Buffalo can either be the 2 seed or miss the playoffs entirely with this matchup against Miami. I believe it is Sunday night, the last game we have this week. How are we feeling about this one? You think Buffalo's going to get in there or not?
I mean, this is a Super Bowl type game. If you ask me, there's a lot on the line for this one, and I think this is probably the best matchup you can ask for a Sunday night game to close out the regular season. So, I mean, I'll give you my pick in a little bit, but if I'm Miami, I'm scared, especially when you got no Nick Chubb.
Should be scared. I mean, the defense before last week has been playing okay. Probably giving up like 14 points a game over 2 months or however long Jalen Ramsey's been back. But what I saw last week with the combination of how Buffalo's playing, they're able to win games and Josh Allen isn't throwing the ball 50 times or running at 16 anymore. Yep. I mean, the defense isn't what Buffalo's used to over the past few seasons, but they make their plays when they count. Buffalo is probably one of the hotter teams in the AFC right now, and if I'm Miami, I am a little worried about playing them for playoff seeding on the line.
I agree.
Bengals, Broncos, they were eliminated since we last spoke. Russ was benched. How do you feel about this? We don't have to spend too much time on it.
Well, I'm kind of
Probably a
puzzled
little
on the
bit of
whole situation. I think they're doing Russ pretty dirty, honestly. If you ask me, just the fact that he's had the kind of comeback season he's had this year with them and putting up the stats he's been putting up. Sure, he's not the same old Russ he once was in Seattle, but he's still a top quality quarterback compared to a lot of these guys who are out there trying to be quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, and I think, it rubs me the wrong way because this smells a lot like a Sean Payton thing. And it's just another one of those issues I have with Sean Payton. I just think Sean Payton is one of the most overrated coaches in the NFL. I think he is acting, since he's gotten back into coaching, especially with Denver, he's acting like he's been a Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin or one of these top goated guys, and he's not even coming close to those guys. So the fact that he has that type of arrogance and ego to him, good. I think you got to convince players in the offseason to come play for you, because I think a lot of guys, after they see this, are not going to want to go to Denver.
Yeah, plus your quarterback situation next year is going to be abysmal, so not really a reason for me to come out to the Mile High besides getting the Mile High. I mentioned Cincinnati because they're our division rivals. Just wanted to mention that they're eliminated, so I'll do it again. Pittsburgh, unfortunately, they play us this weekend, and unfortunately for you, Tomlin did hit that 500 mark with his 9th win last week. We're probably not going to knock this team out of the playoffs, which is kind of scary. Mason Rudolph has been playing very well over these past few games. The defense has been holding teams to fairly reasonable margins. Pittsburgh's always a team that you don't fear in the playoffs, but you definitely don't want to play them. And with that being said, who do you think is the biggest threat to Baltimore before we get to our Week 18 picks? I have three teams.
In the AFC, right?
In the AFC, yes.
Well, let me pull up like what the proceedings are real quick right now.
Okay. While you do that, I can give you my teams. I have Cleveland, who I talked about earlier, Buffalo, who we just mentioned, and then, Lamar's probably going to win MVP this year. You could say he's had the best quarterback season, but he's not the best quarterback. That is Patrick Mahomes. So as long as he's still there in Kansas City, I still give them a chance too.
So looking at this, oh man.
Yeah, it's interesting. You want to let me know what that looks like, actually?
So right now you got Baltimore 1, Miami 2, Kansas City 3, Jacksonville 4, Cleveland 5, Buffalo 6, Indy 7.
Wow. Okay. Indy, Houston, and Pittsburgh all 9 and 7.
Yep.
Okay. I like it. So we have Cleveland at Jacksonville. That's probably going to be a wash if that So let me know what you think here. Because would we play lowest seed remaining, or do we play the winner of
lowest seed remaining?
Okay. So that kind of sucks for us because it's either going to be Miami, Buffalo, or Cleveland, which are not easy games for your first playoff game. I mean, not easy at all.
Yeah, those are the teams that I would say that I fear most for Baltimore. Mainly Buffalo, though, because Buffalo's a scary team. Like, they've had a rough year, but I think that builds a little bit of toughness to them when it comes to playoff time, because they've been there before. They know what it's about. You're gonna have Diggs and Allen getting these guys hyped up. I'm not saying that they'll get it done, but I'm saying that I think based on the previous experiences with the Kansas City games and this and that, and the way they've been losing the playoffs, they could sneak one out against a good team, and it's just that's why I fear them. But you got to see how they come out and play this week against Miami, because this will be telling of how they will look in the playoffs.
This is just so crazy. They could not even make the playoffs, but they're probably the scariest team to Baltimore. So that's just kind of what kind of season it's been. AFC specifically, NFC, we kind of knew what that was from the jump. I mean, there are a few surprise teams in there.
See,
Packers specifically.
And when I look at the AFC playoff landscape as it sits right now compared to NFC, The AFC playoffs, every single game is going to be entertaining.
It's unpredictable.
NFC will not be entertaining.
The whole NFC playoffs, there might be about 4 entertaining games, 4 or 5. And that's if all the matchups fall the right way.
The wild card week for NFC is going to suck.
There's going to be straight blowouts everywhere. And the 4 seed's losing. So,
yep.
I mean, that's never fun. Let's get to week 18. Do you by chance have our records on hand?
So I don't have the record. I didn't get to do them.
So I'm just going to assume that I'm winning now.
I don't think that's the case, bro. All right, let me go through this real quick here. So week 17. All right, let me pull up the scores.
We don't have to do it live here if you don't want to. We can just get right into these picks quick.
Yeah, we can do picks right now.
Let people know who won the regular season. So our first game Saturday, 3:30. Yours truly. We are at home hosting Pittsburgh. Tyler Huntley is QB1. I think Josh Johnson and like Malik Cunningham are quarterbacks or something like that. So hopefully Tyler Huntley plays all 4 quarters. He gets some good reps in. Hopefully him and Bateman are out there before, during, and after the game working on their passing and catching with each other because we're going to need it in playoff time. I would love for the Baltimore Ravens to not get swept by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I would love for the Ravens to knock out the Pittsburgh Steelers at the playoffs. And I think we are actually going to do that. I got Baltimore.
Yeah, even with like Huntley starting and stuff, I still trust Baltimore more than I do Pittsburgh. You don't know what team's going to show up for Pittsburgh. I don't trust the offense over there. And regardless of what starters are sitting or whatnot for Baltimore, still like their defense more than Pittsburgh's offense. So I got to go Baltimore.
Let's not forget Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowler last year. Do you think Joe Flacco can win Comeback Player of the Year in 6 weeks of football?
Why not?
That would be fucking crazy. There's no way. I don't think he's thrown for under 300 yards.
Bro, he's been diamond.
Bro. He's always had... I don't even want to get into it. But he's always had a hell of an arm. His decision-making wasn't the greatest, but he never had any weapons here. The one time he did have a mid-level wide receiver one, we won the Super Bowl, so shit. Texans at the Colts. We have Saturday night. Everything on the line here. Potential number 4 spot in the AFC playoffs. Potential wild card spot. I think you already said you're going with Houston here. Colts are at home. Shit, bro. This one's tough here. I am actually going to go Colts with this one. I think being at home is going to be a little bit of a benefit. That crowd's going to be rocking week 18. I do believe in Gardner Minshew. Maybe not in the playoffs, but regular season I do. Jonathan Taylor, if they have him, I think he's going to be a big key for this offense. The weapons I don't like, but Pierce and Pittman, they make big plays. They made some against us when they got that victory against Baltimore. So I do think the Colts are actually going to pull this one out and have a 10-win season without their starting quarterback. Bucks at the Panthers, our first game on Sunday. Not a lot needs to be said here. I mean, the Panthers could play spoilers here. We see it time and time again, year after year. I just don't think this team has it in them.
You got Bucks, you said?
Yep, I got Bucks.
Yeah, me too. Panthers are looking forward to the Bahama trips.
Bahamas on 3, Bahamas on me. Cleveland at 11-5. At Cincinnati, 8-8, who was eliminated from the playoffs. I don't know if we'll be seeing guys like Jamar Chase and whatnot this week. So Cleveland, I think they have that 5 spot locked up, if I'm not mistaken, looking at these records here. So who knows if they'll be playing their guys. These are the games that are tough to predict because you never know who's going to be out there.
Right.
I'm just going to assume the Twos are going to be out there. And if that's the case, I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
Well, I'm just going to throw I'm just going to go Browns here. I mean, 12-5 looks a lot better than 11-6.
It does. It looks a lot better. To think that I was fucking on this podcast earlier this year and I did a skull horn or whatever the hell that thing is, and now the Vikings are going to lose 10 games on the season. Shame on me. Minnesota at Detroit, 12 o'clock. How you feeling?
Detroit. I mean,
I got to do it too.
there's nothing to play for.
Faith is
I mean,
lost.
there technically is, but look, it's
24.
I think the only way the Vikings win is if Detroit sits a lot of their starters and the Vikings just kind of squeak their way past the backups of Detroit. I mean, it's regardless, it's not going to look good, whether it's a win or loss. So
I did win 2 fantasy games this year with a 1% chance of victory, so there's a chance. Jets at the Patriots. I hope I don't see a highlight a second. I hope I forget this game's even playing after I'm done talking about it. Who you got here?
well, I'm going with the Jets here. I just think that you might as well go out with a win this year before Aaron comes back. And I just think, Bill's on his way out the door. You might want to win this game, obviously, but I just think that that New England team is so checked out, bro.
Do the Jets even have the first round pick?
Good question. I don't know.
Well, I know the Patriots do. And like you said, Bill's on his way out the door. Bill's probably the GOAT. Bill hasn't smiled in 27 years. Bill's winning this game with both his middle fingers up. And you guys are not getting that high of a draft pick fucking with me. Which they probably actually might get the number 1 pick still. Looking at these records, everybody will have 5 wins. So he's going to do his damnedest, though. Falcons at Saints. Falcons, I gave up on them about a month ago. They went with Taylor Heineke a little bit too late. And it's too late. I got the Saints. They got too much to play for right here.
Yeah, I got the Saints as well.
Even though I hate Derek Carr. And Alvin Kamara did leave last game with an injury, so that's going to be, quite the knock if he's not healthy.
Right.
Jacksonville at Tennessee, 9-7 at 5-11. I got the Titans.
Yeah, I'm going Jacksonville here. I think.
Oh, this is the make or break week. All of our picks are different, damn near.
Yep. I don't know. While I don't like Jacksonville or believe in them that much, there's nothing I like about Tennessee.
I just mentioned Kamara was hurt. Will Levis was hurt last game too. I'm not sure how significant that is, but it did look fairly significant. Like he might not be playing this week. And now that I remember that, I am going to go Jacksonville because Malik Willis is not the guy. Seattle at Arizona, 8-8 at 4-12. How are we feeling?
Seattle's going to get it done here. I think they still have a shot to get into the playoffs, so they got to win.
Yep. Cardinals have beaten Dallas and Philly. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, they're not going to be, an easy out for Seattle, but Seattle's going to take this game because they're going to look like a Pete Carroll coach team this week, and they're going to do everything they can to get into the playoffs.
On the road, I'm going to have to believe in Pete Carroll. It's really him. It's not Geno. It's not Locke. It's not the roster. Pete Carroll is a good coach. I think he will have the guys prepared with everything on the line. I'll agree with you here and go Seattle. Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers. You better not let the Bears beat you. You better not let the Bears beat you.
Yeah,
I gotta go Green Bay.
I gotta go Green Bay.
Chicago. Go ahead.
I just think the Packers after winning last week, they're looking to be in the playoffs now, and they're gonna it's gonna happen. That's just how it goes. I picked the Gravediggers the first week, and it's just that's how it works.
Sometimes that is how it crumbles, bro. It is what it is. Chiefs at Chargers. I think the Chiefs have their spot locked up, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but I still even without Brandon Staley, I can't pick the Chargers.
They look okay, but no. They're still talented, but no Herbert. Mahomes has something to play for still. They still are a team that still needs to figure some things out. So hopefully they go into week 18 trying to tool some things up because this offense is not clicking the way you'd like it to.
Yep.
At this point in the season. Broncos at the Raiders. This actually might be a decent game, but I will take Vegas.
Yep, I gotta go Vegas here.
Week 18 is just who knows, bro. Philly at Giants.
Philly.
You know, this was a close game about a week or two ago. I will go Philly though. Giants, they probably will be looking to play spoiler, and it wouldn't honestly surprise me if they do win this game.
No, but Philly's got to look good this week to get some morale before the playoffs.
They do, but shit, easier said than done.
It is.
Rams at San Francisco.
I'm going San Fran here because I don't trust Carson Wentz.
Carson against Sam. Well, I don't trust Sam Darnold. Shit, but
Sam Darnold is much better than Carson Wentz, bro.
Well, when we figure out how to put polls up, we'll put that poll up. I'm going to go San Fran. The team's just overall better. I think LA, no matter what the record says, they outplayed their expectations this year. They found gems in Puka and Kyron, like you mentioned, and Stafford's a slinger, so the offense will keep them in games. But without Matthew Stafford, I don't know what Carson Wentz is going to be able to do against them.
Yep.
Cowboys against Commanders.
Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to see Washington go out with a bang, assuming that Dallas sits their guys, but shit. I got to go Cowboys. And then here, Bills at Dolphins, the game of the week. Sunday Night Football. 10-6 at 11-5.
I'm rocking with Buffalo here.
You're rocking with Buffalo?
I just,
the first time in my life since Alabama, I will be rooting for Tua.
Going for Miami, huh?
I have to. I'll see that team in the playoffs again. We'll smack that ass by 40 points. Fuck. Only because Miami's at home. If they had to go to Buffalo right now,
it'd be tough.
Put up 10 points, and it'd be nice.
Yeah.
Since they're at home, after that ass whooping, Mike McDaniel. I mean, Miami also, they had a win against Dallas. I think it was 22-20. Outside of that, they've gotten spanked against every quality team they played against. Yep. They lost to the Chiefs by 7, which isn't a spanking, but Chiefs aren't the Chiefs that we're used to. So Miami does scare me against Buffalo, who is, without a doubt, a quality opponent. So Sunday Night Football, you get a little extra time to think about it, lick those wounds that we gave you. Tua did hurt his shoulder. I don't know what the status of his injury is, but that is significant. It was his left shoulder, and if he ain't going to be able to go, it's going to get ugly. But I do have Miami this game. Are we good here on Week 18?
I'm good to go.
Do we want to congratulate the Packers now or later?
Oh, we never congratulate them.
All right, for sure.
I stay salty.
Next time. Hopefully, we get some good games this weekend. You never know who's going to play, but we should at least have 2 good ones. The Houston game and then this last one we just talked about. So hopefully, if I am down, I just took the lead with my picks this week. And other than that, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I'm good to go as well.
All right, man. Hopefully Russ ends up on the Vikings next year, man. Appreciate y'all. Peace.